Hi, this is Stephanie with Iron Sharpening Iron. I am here today to do this presentation for you guys. This is a continuation of the last video about the profound dream that I had back in 2021 and specifically about Sabbath. Ever since I came into Torah, it was clear to me that Sabbath is extremely important to Yah. And in order to keep Sabbath the best that we can, we need to know when it starts and ends. So the title of this is When Does a Day Begin? Because it has more consequences than just Sabbath. This is basic timekeeping to keep Yah's appointed times. This is going to affect other feast days as well. But the most important feast day of Yah's feast days, in my opinion, and I believe in the biblical account, is Sabbath. This is our weekly appointment with the Most High in order to get teaching from Him, closeness to Him, break from this world, and time to focus our attention on Him. If you're not keeping Sabbath, you're missing out. So, I really, when I came into the Torah movement, initially I was a dabbler, I'll say. When I started learning about this, I was very interested in it. But I was working a shift job where I had to work every other weekend. And to try and keep Sabbath, I just didn't know how that would be possible. But I was learning about feast days. I wanted to keep Sabbath, and it just kept weighing on me and weighing on me. And eventually I decided to take a leap of faith and write something to write something to all my coworkers and see if anyone out there wanted to work every Saturday and I would work every Sunday. So that way I would have every Saturday off. I am a Seventh-day Sabbatarian. That's what the Bible teaches, that the seventh day is the Sabbath day, not the first day of the week. If you look even at a Gregorian calendar, the seventh day of the week is Saturday. It is not Sunday. So if you're keeping Sunday Sabbath, I pray that you would just go seek that out a little bit farther. You can look back. I looked at the historical records going all the way back to Jesus, Yahushua's time on earth. The Sabbath day was always on Saturday. It was never Sunday. And there are people out there who are keeping Zadok calendar, which I mentioned last time, who have a moving Sabbath. So they keep the solar cycle, really the 365.25, and then they just move their Sabbath every year so that their fourth day of the week begins the year, but their fourth day will change days of the week on a Gregorian calendar. I know it's confusing. I'll get more into that later. But anyway, I don't think that's right either. I've searched it out. I've looked at the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'll get into those in future videos, really explain what they show. The Sabbath does not move. Since creation, God had a 7-day cycle. This is one of the most basic cycles that He gave us. Even more basic, though, is the day. So that's what we're really going to get into today, but that has huge implications for when to keep Sabbath and all those things. And when I started keeping Sabbath, I started reading the Torah portions. I started learning so much more. And very early on in that walk, this is like 6 years ago or something, I am watching this Rob Skiba video, and he starts talking about the Sabbath day, or the day beginning in the morning. And he was talking about Day of Atonement and all these things, and I just could not grasp it at that time because I was just coming off of the Gregorian calendar system and Christmas and Easter and Halloween and all this stuff that the world is doing, and coming into the Hillel 2 Jewish calendar where your day starts at sunset, which was always really confusing to me, and trying to figure out when do I start keeping these feast days. I have to do it the day before the date they say, or start it in that evening. It's very confusing. And Yah is not an author of confusion, so that should be a little hint right there about when the day should really begin. But anyway, it was too confusing to me at that time to even comprehend what he was saying. And then, I mean, this was literally probably like 6 months ago. The light bulb went off. Maybe a year ago. The light bulb went off, and I finally got it. At this point, I've been studying the Torah for many years, doing the Torah portions, and now it clicks. Oh, of course, the day begins in the morning and then everything else fits in line. Don't believe me? Stick with it. I originally was planning to do this as one long video, but my life right now makes it very challenging to do these longer videos. It takes me a long time to get it done. So I'm hoping that maybe if I do this in smaller chunks, A, people out there who have time constraints on their life will find it easier to watch our videos. And B, that way hopefully I can get videos done more often. So I'm feeding you more often instead of like this last video. There was like a 2 or 3 month break. I don't think this one would have taken that long, but it still could have been a month before I finished this video. Instead, let me get this shorter version done in a couple weeks and get it out to you. And then hopefully I can get these done at least one every 2 weeks, if not once a week. It takes a lot of effort to put these things together, from the slides, the presentation, do the audio recording, put visuals in there. It's a very time-consuming process, and I'm a busy person, as many of you are out there. So anyway, with nothing further to ado, let's get into this. So this specific presentation, I'm going to be going over in the beginning, Genesis revealed. So we're going to be talking about basically the creation account and how that relates to the day and when it begins. So we're going to start at the very beginning of your Bible, because that's how early in time Yah established this, is at the very beginning. So Genesis 1 through 5. In the beginning, God, Yah, created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God Elohim said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So many people will read this who do it as the Jews do it, from evening until evening, and say, well, look at that last sentence, evening and then morning. So starts at night and ends during the day. Let's look at this closer, okay? So notice that everything starts out in darkness. Darkness was over the face of the deep. There's a total absence of light in the very beginning. And the first creation we have of Yah was light. This is literally the dawn of time, when the light came out. The dawn is when time began. Light was separated from the darkness. And note the order. He talks about the light, then he talks about the darkness, then he talks about the day. The light he called the light day, and the darkness he called night. Notice the order: day, night, light, darkness. After, of course, there was darkness at the very beginning. So the work of creation occurred during the day. He created the light. That began the daylight, the 12-hour day that you think of, during the daytime hours. And then you have the evening, and then you have the morning, or the sun coming up again, and that constitutes your 24-hour day. Your daytime, sunrise, you have your evening, then you have sunrise again in the morning, and then that shifts you into the second day, okay? How do I know this? Let's look at the word Arev. Then there was evening. Arev, as you see here, it actually means mixing. I'm going to show you that in the Hebrew in just a moment. And you cannot have mixed light and dark without having light first. Okay? So God created light. There was darkness, and then there's light. There was we couldn't mix this without the light being here first. So we don't get any mixing of the light and the dark until when? In the evening. So he created the light. Then that evening, then the dark starts to creep back in, the light starts to go down, and then it becomes dark again. It has to occur in this order. And then the morning, the dawn, is when the sun literally breaks the horizon. That's what that dawn word means. The morning word means is when the breaking. So when it comes above the horizon in the morning. And you will see this pattern that I just spoke of is repeated in the next 5 creation days. Every single day, it'll give you the work he does, and then it'll say, and then there was evening, and there was morning, the second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. Okay. Okay. So here we are, Genesis 1:5. God called light day, and darkness he called night, and there was evening, Arab. Okay. And we'll go to that real quick. See, Arab, it's evening, Arab. This is the letter in Hebrew, the bait that can be a B or a B sound in Hebrew. So that's Arab. It just tells us evening, twilight. What are you talking about mixing? Where's this mixing in here? I don't see it. Let's go find another instance of this word, remembering that the vowel points were not in the original Hebrew. And that regardless of vowel points, we know that if the root is the same, these words are related. They're related in some way. So check this word out. Arab, look at it. It's spelled exactly the same way. And the vowel points are a little different. But this means mixture, mixed company. When the Israelites came up in Exodus 12, when they came up out of Egypt, they took this mixed multitude with them. Look, Arab, Rab, which look at that. That one even is part of that word, right? Resh and bait. We call these people today Arabs. Why are they called Arabs? They are mixed people. They are mixed. If you look at pictures of Arabs, or if you live in an area where you get a lot of exposure to Arabs or seen a lot of videos of them, you can have, some of them are kind of medium dark, very fair skinned. Of course, we don't know that we would really call Netanyahu an Arab. Look at how fair skinned, blue eyed, kind of medium here, olivey. But then you have some that are dark, and some of them are incredibly dark. Look at this guy in Chad, in Northern Africa, who are very dark. They can have, look at this girl. She's got blue eyes. But then you have some that have brown, almost black eyes. His eyes are very dark. So they're a mixed people. They were all intermingling. This is supposed to be an Arab. I don't know. They look like kind of African, extremely dark skin. So these are mixed people. There are a lot of different people groups that mix together. They come in all different colors. Their eye color is different. Their facial structures are different. Arabs were just a mixed people. So that is what that word Arab, the morning or the evening, really means. It's a mixing. So you got to have the light first to mix with the dark. What about the morning? We have the word boker is for the word morning, and it comes from the word bakar. What is bakar? They're talking about inquire, seek. But look at this from the Aramaic in Ethiopia: to divide, to split, slit, rip, split. This is when it's splitting the horizon. It's coming up. It's dividing the horizon when the sun comes out in the morning. To break forth. See that? Cloud to break forth. This is when it's just breaking the surface in the morning. So, okay. So there are some people, getting back to this, now that I showed you the Hebrew stuff, there are some people who believe that the day literally is just the daytime hours of the day. So when the sun rises till the sun sets, that's the day. And so looking at this though, and the way it's ordered, we have the day being called the daylight very clearly. God called the light day. But then we also have, well, it's talking about the darkness night, and there was evening and there was morning the first day. Clearly it's involving evening and morning. Some people say, well, it just means, the morning and the evening. But to me, it implies that this whole 24-hour period is a day. Just like we have in English, you have a 24-hour day and you have a roughly 12-hour day. Note that the light is good, not the darkness. And the word for darkness denotes evil. And this is a repeated theme throughout Scripture. Evil deeds are done in the dark. I'm not going to go into the scriptures and all that right here, right now. But just note that the light is generally considered the time when good things happen. Darkness is the time when bad things happen. So is God going to start his Sabbath in the dark and bad things are happening? All his feast days will be based on the dark instead of the light. Seems a little suspect. And I believe this is a big picture of creation. You have this starts off light and it gets more dark and then it gets light again based on the creation story. Everything was perfect in the beginning. It goes astray. Then he sets it right at the end. So let's keep moving. Genesis 1, 5 through 7. So just the next verses here. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. And God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening and there was morning the second day. So we left off at the morning with our first day. It's still morning. God creates the expanse or the firmament. It's a word I like better, but we can get into that in future videos. But again, after his day of work, during the light, we have evening again until the next morning to constitute the second day. So this pattern just keeps repeating till the seventh day. So let's go to Genesis 1, 16 through 18. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. This is your sun and moon, guys. And note that this is occurring on the fourth day. Where was that light coming from? What does it mean there was light and there was day and night without the sun in Genesis 1? You know, he's the light too. We got to recognize that he's the light. And there was darkness, there was chaos, there was a certain evil without Yah there. And he's the light, came in, changes everything. So anyway, we see the pattern of light. The sun is the greater light to rule the day, started first, and then the lesser night to rule the nighttime and the stars. So we have light, then dark, day, then night. Repeated here on day 4. It's not just day 1. Defining the luminaries. We have the sun mentioned first, then the moon, and then the stars. And this is how they appear, generally speaking. We'll talk about that briefly. But the sun marks the beginning of the day. And then the moon, a lot of times it rises during the daytime. Sometimes it doesn't set till the daytime. The moon's kind of all over the place. It's not very stable. So for establishing anything. And then the stars appear once it's sufficiently dark, when the sun is gone far enough away under the horizon, however you want to understand it. But again, the order, day, night. So let's go to the seventh day. Genesis 2, 1 through 3. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. So since daytime is when the work is done, Yah rests on the seventh day during the daytime. This is when Sabbath begins. There's no evening and next morning mentioned here. So some people take this to mean, well, we only have to rest during the daytime portion of the seventh day. But for me, person who worked shift work, this creates a loophole that takes away from the meaning of having rest. So by that definition, I could, if we're saying that Sabbath begins Saturday morning, I could work Friday night. I could come home. I could sleep all during the day, recover from the night I worked before. And then as soon as the sun goes down, I could go back to work and work another night shift. Is that really keeping Yah's feast day, Sabbath day? Is it really just about literally resting during that day, or is there more to it? I mean, I really believe there's more to it. We're supposed to spend time in Him. Nighttime was automatically reserved for rest from creation. It is really only because of our modern lifestyles that that has even changed, that people can work at night. And it makes sense too. I mean, yes, people did go out and harvest and stuff on the full moon and things like that. But generally speaking, if you were before electricity, you were going to go to bed at nighttime and you were going to be up during the daytime. So the day has already been established from Genesis 1 to be a 24-hour period that I already showed. And we see here that the evening and the morning are not mentioned after this day. If you go and look in the next verse, you won't find it there because it doesn't need to be mentioned. Because this is this seventh day, there's no distinction between the daytime hours, evening hours, and the nighttime, till the next morning, because it's all rest. You're resting during the day, the evening, the night. You're spending time with Yah. There's no real distinction in what's happening for your 24-hour period day on Sabbath. Unlike the other days of the week, when you would typically be working during the daylight hours and then resting during the evening or nighttime hours. Evening, trying to transition to resting. So, if you are a person who, as soon as the sun goes down on Saturday evening, and then you're going out doing your week's shopping and all these sort of things during that 24-hour period from the sunrise on Saturday till the sunrise on Sunday, I would just caution you. Are you just looking for an out? Or are you sure this is what the scripture's teaching? Because if I'm wrong and Sabbath, you only have to keep it during the daytime, and I happen to keep it for an extra 12 hours until the morning sunrise, am I really hurting anything? Am I being disobedient to Yah? No. But if you are cutting it short, then possibly you are. And none of this is to say that I believe Yah is going to harshly punish people that are trying to keep Sabbath and aren't keeping it perfectly right, even if you're keeping it on Sunday. But I know that I'm trying to be on His appointed time and keep it as closely as possible. For those keeping a Sabbath from the evening of Friday till the evening of Saturday, note that we've had, if you go and look at the 6th day, and I didn't put that in these slides, but you have your 6th day of work, and then you have evening and morning the next day, or the 6th day. So you still have this pattern repeating all the way through. And if we started with darkness and then we have light, this is the dawn of time. The sun didn't literally come up at the time because there was no sun, but the light was there. And then we have a 24-hour period with the evening, and then the next morning being our first day. And we have this pattern of work, evening, till the next morning, work, evening, till the next morning. And the 6th day, He does His work, He creates man, and then there's evening, and then there's morning. Your Sabbath can't start on that evening. That's still the 6th day. So again, I don't think Yah is going to harshly punish us if we're really trying to keep His feast days, if we're really trying to keep Sabbath, and we're off a little bit because of our understanding and we've been fed lies by our fathers. But I just ask everyone out there to do their best to try and follow the biblical Sabbath and to figure out what that is, if it's on your heart to do so. Okay, so that concludes what I have to show you in Genesis, the creation account specifically about the day and the night. Still not convinced. No worries. We have a lot more things to cover. So if you have all these questions, yeah, but this, please wait. Watch the rest of the videos before you make judgments. And then if after I make all these videos and you still have some kind of argument against this, please lay it out there. So, anyhow, next time I will be going into more scriptural proofs that we find in the scripture. At some point, I will be talking about the feast days specifically, talking about Day of Atonement and some of these other things, Passover, unleavened bread, and how that all fits into this. Talking about why are people clean only, you're unclean until evening. Why is it until evening? The day begins in the morning. So, all of that is to come. Stay tuned. Blessings to everyone out there. And I will say shalom.